everybody, welcome back to another episode of Lara Trump, One In for Questioning. It's been a week, so I still have a lot of questions about things myself, but let's see what questions maybe I can answer for you guys today. Question number 1. Where were you when you heard Charlie had been assassinated? It's just wild because it was a week ago. It's crazy. And I think it's one of those things where none of us will ever forget where we were. You know, I liken this in so many ways to, and I know he was president, but JFK's assassination. You know, everyone of that generation will say, I remember exactly where I was, exactly what was going on the moment I heard. And I got a text message actually letting me know that he'd been shot, but it was still kind of early. We didn't really know what his condition was. So obviously I was hopeful, and I, like a lot of people, prayed that we would get a better outcome. And I had just picked my daughter up actually at school. You know, my schedule last week and this week is a little crazy. And so it was one of the days I could pick her up at school, and I shift my entire life around to be able to drop my kids off in the morning and pick them up in the afternoon if I'm here. And I just picked her up, and I got that message, and I remember she wanted to listen to this song from the K-pop Demon Hunters. I know everybody's probably heard of this. If you have kids, you know what I'm talking about. And she wanted me to sing with her. I just couldn't focus on it. And then I got home, and I did probably what I shouldn't have done, but I was trying to get information, and I went on X, and I typed in his name, and I was trying to refresh it so that I could get like the latest information and find out what was happening. And of course, I saw the video of him being shot, and I really wish I hadn't seen that, to be really honest, because it was awful. And I almost immediately saw that, and I said, I don't think there's any way that anyone survives that. So then I called my husband, and I think for us, you know, and maybe for a lot of people, it was sort of like in the wake of my father-in-law being shot. Obviously, he got up, and we know what he did on stage to really kind of tell the world he was okay. But we didn't know what was happening with Charlie. And then I heard a couple hours later, I took my daughter to gymnastics, and that's where it was confirmed that he was actually gone. And it's just like, it's surreal. I think for most of us, it's kind of wild because I hear from so many people, and I've heard from so many people who never met Charlie, who were really not even involved in politics, who kind of barely knew anything about him, but maybe knew what he did on campuses, maybe had seen some of his videos, how upset they are and how deeply this has affected them. And I don't know. I feel like there's been some shift. I feel like we've crossed some demarcation line that we're not coming back from. And I hope in the best possible way, because I know that that's what he would want. I don't think he could have ever imagined what a loss this entire world would feel from him no longer being in it. And I will say the only thing that kind of gives me solace, that it probably gives a lot of people comfort in the wake of this just absolute tragedy, is that we know exactly where he is. He was so out front with his faith. He literally said the way he wanted to be remembered was being a champion for his faith. And that's how a lot of people are remembering him today. Churches were full this past Sunday all across this country. I would ask pastors and preachers out there, when's the last time they saw that happen? I bet it's been a while. And so while there's never anything good to be garnered from any tragic loss of life, I think Charlie's more powerful not being with us than he even was being with us. And man, I wish we had 70 more years with Charlie, because his impact could have been so profound. But somebody kind of talked to me the other day about this, and they said, you know, for some people, in order for them to do what they need to do in their life, for them to do what God put them on this earth to do, it takes them 85, 90 years. For Charlie, it only took 31. And the impact he had was so profound and so enormous. And I think it hit all of us so hard who have worked alongside of him, have spoken at his events, have known him throughout the years, because of all people in this whole space, of all people within the political world, and I know he wasn't a politician, but he championed conservative values out there. He was about as nice as you get. He was about as humble as you get out there. And so I think that's what has been maybe the most shocking for so many of us. He was not pompous. He never acted like he was better than anyone. Although he commanded this huge organization that he built from the ground up and really was involved in every aspect of it, you never felt that from him. He was just a really great guy, would go out of his way anytime there was something that I posted online or an interview that I did that, you know, he had something positive to say. I would always hear from him, just a little something. And he was just a great person. I always wondered how he had time to do all of that. But he did. And so it's been an awful past week, and I can't believe we're at the 1 week mark. Next question. What would Charlie want us to do to honor his memory? Well, I think it's just following in his footsteps. I think it's being unafraid and unequivocal in our voices being heard. We have to get out there, and we cannot let this for one single second deter anything that Charlie started, deter anything that he was championing out there. This movement of the Make America Great Again movement, aided by Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, it has to go on. We have to continue talking to young people on college campuses. I think Ben Shapiro, maybe a day or two after Charlie's death, came out and said, I'll be willing to go out there on college campuses. I'll be willing to debate people. But we have to continue speaking up and being proud of who we are and championing this country and being unafraid to talk about things like our faith and our values. That's what Charlie did every single day. And man, there was nobody better at it than he was. I mean, I would say you could ask any of us. I'll go sit out and do what Charlie did. I won't be as good at it as he was, but I'm happy to engage with people. I did an event at my alma mater at NC State with Charlie, and it was essentially that. We just kind of took questions from the audience and engaged with the student body there. Now everybody freaked out whenever we were going to come on campus there. And by everybody, I mean like the lunatics, and tried to cause a ruckus and tried to, deter us from coming on campus. But we went and we talked to everybody, and there were some who had, some rough things to say or try to distract us. There were people on the hallway trying to distract us, but overall, it was a great conversation. I was honored that he had asked me to do that with him, because no one was better at that than Charlie. And so, I think that it's incumbent upon us to continue engaging, continue speaking out there and letting our voices be heard. We cannot for a second back away from what we started, what Charlie started, what President Trump started, where we're heading in this country. We have to get out there and we have to continue fighting for this country and what's right, ensuring that our future generations are hearing the truth and are not being indoctrinated in their schools. I mean, my gosh, what we're seeing President Trump do right now with our education system, I think is going to be very impactful in that. What Linda McMahon as education secretary wants to do and put herself out of a job and abolish the Department of Education, I think is fantastic. School choice, vouchers to send your child to the best school around and not put them in a failing school. These are all great things, but we have to continue talking about truth and values and what this country actually stands for. And that's the best way we can honor Charlie's legacy. We can't let this die along with him. And hearing his wife Erica on Saturday night when she spoke, man, what a strong woman. What an incredibly strong woman to get out there and in front of the entire country after, I'm sure she probably saw herself what exactly happened to her husband. To go out and speak the way she did, I thought was really amazing. But she said, we're not going to let this, we're not going to let this go. We're not going to let Turning Point go. We're not going to let it die. We're going to keep going forward. And I think that we all need to do that. So I think that's the best way we can honor him. You saw a spike in Turning Point USA chapter applications. People out there saying, I'll step up now. I'm willing to lead now. I'm willing to go to my local Turning Point office and get involved in whatever way I can. Continue doing that. We need to do more of that. We need great people to step up and run for all different offices out there. If you're a person who has thought about running for your local school board, now's the time to step up. Do it for Charlie. If you've thought about running for state house or state senate, now is the time to do it. Do it for Charlie. If you've thought about doing anything that puts you outside of your comfort zone, but you've been afraid, this is the time. Now is the time to do those things. You can do it for Charlie. And so I'm going to continue doing what I think a lot of us in our family have been doing, championing this country, fighting for what we believe in, making sure our values are reflected in the leadership of this country. But everybody can do it, and everybody can get involved, and everybody has a space here. So that's my plan. I hope it's part of your plan too. Can you remember what you were doing 2 years ago in October 2023? Life moves so fast these days, I can hardly remember 2 months ago, let alone what I did a couple of years ago. But for the people of Israel, October 7th, 2023 will never be forgotten. It was on that day that terrorists savagely murdered more than 1,200 innocent Israelis and took 250 hostages. Many of those hostages have died. And yet today it seems as if the cries of the dead and dying have been drowned out by shouts of anti-Semitic hatred. And for many, the most brutal attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust has been pushed aside, ignored, or conveniently forgotten. Yet as the world looks away, a light shines in the darkness. It's a movement of love and support for the people of Israel called Flags of Fellowship, and it's organized by the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. And on October 5th, just a few weeks away, millions across America will prayerfully plant an Israeli flag in honor and solidarity with the victims of October 7th, 2023, and their grieving families. That's love in action. And now you can be a part of this movement too. To get more information about how you can join Flags of Fellowship, visit the fellowship online at ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org. If you're anything like me, you've probably asked yourself, where did all the good family entertainment go? It feels like every time you turn on the TV, you're either cringing or reaching for the remote. That's why I'm so proud to support Angel Studios, a platform that's bringing back stories grounded in faith, family, and freedom. Films like Sound of Hope, the powerful true story of a small Texas church that adopted 77 foster children. King of Kings, the inspiring animated film that's helped children all over the world. Something to Stand For with Mike Rowe, an incredible tribute to ordinary Americans who risked everything to defend liberty. And the recently released film, The Last Rodeo, a heartland drama about a veteran bull rider who gets back in the arena to save his grandson's life. It's raw, redemptive, and rooted in everything we love about America. Angel's creating entertainment that reflects our values, honoring our veterans, celebrating strong families, and reminding us what makes this country wonderful. When you join the Angel Guild, you're not just watching these stories, you're helping fund, shape, and share them. As a premium member, you'll get 2 free tickets to every theatrical release, ad-free streaming, and full access to Angel's entire streaming library. This country was built on values worth preserving, and it starts with the stories we choose to tell. So if you're ready to change entertainment for the better, go to angel.com/Lara and become a premium Angel Guild member today. Okay. Next question. We keep hearing Charlie and Turning Point USA did a lot to help in the 2024 election with registering and chasing ballots. Is that true? Yes. So we had a ruling that allowed us a little over a year ago, like a year and a half ago, to involve the RNC more and kind of work more with groups like Turning Point, groups like Scott Pressler's Early Vote Action. We weren't able to actually coordinate with those entities previously in the same way we could in the 2024 election. But because of that, yes, we had this incredible ability to work with Turning Point, to actually talk to them about strategy, to get involved with them and have them involved with us in a way that was never really afforded to presidential campaigns and to the RNC previously, which made it amazing. Now, don't kid yourself. The same thing we were doing, the Democrats were doing, just on the opposite end of things. But I remember very vividly Charlie talking about ballot chasing with me and saying, listen, if the Democrats had been out there, you've heard about ballot harvesting, right? Where they go out and one person, and a lot of places this is not legal, they'll go door to door and they'll say, oh, fill out your mail-in ballot or your absentee ballot and I'll take it in for you. Well, there's a chain of custody issue there that is very questionable. You can't do that in all states. And oftentimes it's done illegally, but you can ballot chase and you can go and you can knock on people's door and you can say, hey, I'm going to be here and I'm going to help you get that in the mail. I'm going to make sure that you do the right thing here and you get your voice out there loud and proud and you make sure it's heard and it's reflected in your vote. And the registration, I would say, between Turning Point and Early Vote Action, Scott Pressler's organization, absolutely. You know, you talk about college campuses and how impactful they truly were in our political landscape over the past, I'm going to say, several decades. Charlie understood that. He understood that you have to start early. And he actually, even, you go to these Turning Point events, you go to these, the events that he has all over the country, young women's leadership that I've spoken at many times. Some of these kids are just that, they're kids. Some of them are in like middle school or high school, but that's when you have to start encouraging people to learn the truth. That's where you have to start encouraging an interest in our country and how we operate and in our politics. And Charlie understood that. And so right alongside of going out there and engaging with people, he made sure that they were helping register people. If you're out in these areas during a presidential or midterm election cycle, you better be registering people to vote. I don't think that Donald Trump would be president right now without Charlie Kirk and Turning Point, without the registration push, without the ballot chasing, which was done, by the way, alongside Turning Point and other grassroots organizations everywhere we legally could across this country. We would have been absolutely stupid had we done things the exact same way this past election that they'd always been done, right? Which is Republicans always say things like, well, we're not really into voting early. We're really not into voting by mail. We like election day voting. I do too, but guess what? That's not what we've got. Right now, we've got early voting that lasts months in some places across the country. And so had we just played things the way that we always had and said, well, we want to discourage people from voting by mail, we want to discourage people from voting early, how dumb would we have been? Because we would have missed out on all those votes. Look at what happened this past election cycle. You saw historic numbers in early voting for Republicans. They were so big that in some states like Nevada and North Carolina and Georgia, at times we were outpacing the Democrats in our early vote numbers. And so what does that mean? That means if we get our voters out early, we get one person to vote, we're not going to talk to you anymore. We're not going to harass you anymore to get out and vote. We take you off our list, and then we can put our resources in getting other people out there, low propensity voters, people who haven't voted in the past several election cycles, but we know they'll vote Republican. We can encourage them to get out. Charlie was so impactful in that space as well. And I'm so glad that he had the foresight, like Michael Watley and I did at the RNC, to say, hey, if we're waiting on getting people to the polling locations until election day, we're going to completely, just ruin our chances here. We got to get them out early too. We got to do a big push for our voters to vote early. If they're going to vote by mail, then let's encourage them to vote by mail as soon as they possibly can. Let's get out there and chase those ballots. And because of that, come election day, the delta in some places was far too great for the Democrats to make up. There's no way they were going to find suitcases worth of ballots that were going to equal the lead that we already had on them in so many of these states. That's why that stuff matters. That's why it's important. That's why if he was on a college campus, they had people there to register college students to vote, because every vote matters and every vote counts. And so, yeah, it was so great that we had this opportunity to actually coordinate more, to actually work with them, not just kind of in the background and they were there in the shadows. No, we were right there alongside of them, and we were doing things every single day to assist them and have them assist us in whatever way we legally could. So made a big difference, and Donald Trump is president today because of it. Final question. Do you think Charlie could have been president one day? There is absolutely no doubt in my mind. And I think that's how a lot of people saw Charlie. You know, it's funny because he could have done any number of things in the political space. Quite frankly, I think he could have been in Donald Trump's administration at any point. Would he have been young? Absolutely. But what an incredibly bright, just knowledgeable, super smart individual Charlie truly was. To hear his wealth of knowledge, I mean, that's the thing about Charlie. When he would go out on these college campuses, it's not like he was sitting down and saying like, okay, come ask me questions about voting. Come ask me questions about politics. Come ask me questions. Literally anything anybody would come up to him and ask, he had an answer for. And he had the information to back it up. He had the receipts for all of it. And so when you see someone who really has read as much as he had, has studied as much as he had, who really understood so many different aspects of different topics on a almost like a granular level, that's hard to find. It's hard to find people who inspire others in the way he did. And that's what you need in a great president. Look at Donald Trump. He inspires people. People want to follow him. People understand that he has a knowledge for things that very few do. And Charlie had that as well. And so I think a lot of people look at Charlie and they thought, well, one day after he gets Turning Point all settled, after he really does kind of undo all of the indoctrination of our younger generations, after he inspires people to get involved in politics in a way that, I mean, I wish we had it when I was in school. I think it's incredibly important. Then what's left after that? What's the big goal after that? I think a lot of people assumed he would probably run for president one day, and he probably would have won. Imagine a debate stage, a presidential debate with Charlie Kirk on there. Holy smokes. Are you kidding me? To see the way, I mean, and he prepared for it all the time. He prepared for it every single day. He was willing to talk to anyone. Gosh, that would have been amazing. I actually would love to have seen Charlie Kirk debate Kamala Harris. Oh, I mean, to hear her stumbling around and trying to figure out what she was going to say when Charlie it would have been a full-blown smackdown. I can't even imagine how great television that would have been. It would have been amazing. So yeah, I think a lot of us looked at Charlie and we said, well, where do you go after you do all this? Maybe president. Unfortunately, we will never know that. And I hope that in his death, and I said this earlier, but he does seem to be almost more impactful. It's awful. It's so sad that we can say that. And we're only a week out, but I know he's watching from somewhere, and I hope he's proud of what he started, of the way that, you know, so many, like his wife and all the people at Turning Point are doing their best to pick up the pieces and try to carry on. I think it's our responsibility and our duty to do that in his honor. What he started, we can never let die. We can never let it fall apart. We have to just pick it up and we have to run with it. That's what he would want us to do. So that's what we're going to do. All right, that's going to do it for us for this episode of Lara Trump Wanted for Questioning. hopefully next week we've got some more positive things to talk about. If you have any questions you want to send our way, you can go to any of our social media and post there. You can post under this episode. And until next time, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. We'll see you back here more of for Lara Trump, Wonderful Questioning.